Welcome to GameWorks. Today we're looking at Shadow of the Colossus and the right way to create a narrative in video games. And geez, you are big. I'ma leave. The way that we've told stories has changed over time, and the newest way to tell stories is through video games. You might be tempted to think, well, we already know how to tell stories. We've got stories in movies, we've got stories in books, we already know how to do all of these things. But both movies and novels are pretty new ways of telling stories. Movies didn't come about till the 1900s, and novels didn't come about till the 1800s. And in each of those cases, it took some time to figure out exactly how to tell stories in these new mediums. So now we have literary techniques that tell us how to make stories in books, cinematic techniques that help us tell stories in movies, but we haven't really developed a set canon of techniques that we use to tell stories in video games. Which means that for now, a lot of people are just treating it like movies, using the same sort of setups and shots in the cutscene that we see in many movies. Look at the Metal Gear series. This is basically a movie that you play. And there's nothing wrong with that per se, but it's not using games to their full potential to tell stories. So what exactly is different about video games and movies? Well, there is one big difference, and it may seem like a small thing, but it can affect the entire way that you should tell a story. The fact that it's you controlling the character gives this a whole new dimension. And there are certain games that have used this idea of control very effectively. For instance, Shadow of the Colossus. But before we jump into what this game does narratively, let's look at the history of the game. Team Ico began development on Shadow of the Colossus in 2002. The head of Team Ico, Fumito Ueda, wow, I butchered that name, was said to be a perfectionist, admitting only 1 or 2 graphic artists for every 500 that applied. He was also extremely insistent on a realistic feel of the physics while climbing and defeating the Colossi. He also wanted to make sure, despite any feedback, that the only enemies in the game needed to be the Colossi, both so the programmers could focus on programming their movements, which are unique to each Colossi, and also to fulfill the artistic vision of Ueda. So let's look at the game and see what it does narratively, and try to tease out any overarching rules that they use to really develop the story in this game. So many spoilers! Look, it's Gandhi! Click him if you want to live! The game begins in a cutscene, setting up this grand world and this single lone traveler. This lone traveler reaches a temple and these black things come up out of the ground. Hey, whoa, don't look at me, that's the color they are. I didn't make it, I didn't choose it. I didn't choose for them to be black. It's not my fault, look at them, they're black. I'm not racist. Game is racist. They seem like they might be enemies, but this lone traveler swipes his sword and they immediately dissipate. And this huge voice comes out of the sky and talks to you, and it's like, see that shit? Go do that shit. That shit's for you. And it's like, okay, well, alright. And then you gain control. This opening cutscene gives you limited knowledge about the stuff that's going on, except that you have a sword that does things, and this god thing told you to do things over in that thing. And that leaves you with pretty much every question that exists, like, who am I? What is this? What are you? What's this sword thing? Is that a horse? Where am I? Where did I come from? What am I doing? Who's that girl? Do I want to put my penis in her? If not, why am I trying to save her? Why do I look like a girl? Why does that girl look like a girl? Am I a girl? Is that a girl? Why is the ceiling talking to me again? This cutscene that establishes limited context, which then gives you control, gives you an incentive to explore the world, which you quickly realize is completely open in front of you. Your sword points you to where you need to go, but the fact that you can go anywhere in this hugely expansive world makes it very compelling. This world is completely empty except for some random small animals and the Colossi, which are not small animals. Most of the Colossi are designed to give them the air of a gentle force of nature that you are interrupting or disturbing, with their usually slow, lumbering movements, their mossy coverings, and the ancient architecture that's covering them. This is especially clear when you defeat all of the Colossi and become a Colossi yourself at the end. Once you gain control at the end, this shows you how unwieldy and slow this huge form can be, increasing your sympathy for these gentle giants that you've killed. As you play through the game, you look at them as these huge, impossible forces, but really at the end you realize that they were almost as weak as you the entire time, despite being huge, and you were just kind of killing these poor defenseless animals. In fact, the ending scene in general is impressive in the way that it gives control to you as you play and then takes away control as cutscenes start. See, these new guys come from across this bridge and you see your character transform all in cutscene, but you're suddenly given control when you become this big black demon guy. Hey, whoa, that's the color he is. Okay, I'm not racist. That's what he looks like. Don't blame me. Can't help it. As you fight the new people trying to fight you off, you lose health and grip stamina just like the normal game. After you fight for a while, the game goes back into cutscene, taking control away from you, and the people you're fighting open a portal that begins to suck you in. You regain control, making you in real time struggle against this portal that's sucking you in, sucking you away from the point of the game, saving your girlfriend over here. The fact that you can catch and snag yourself as you get pulled in gives you some sort of hope that you can escape. This directly ties your emotions to the emotions that you assume the character is feeling. Desperate and hopeful to escape, but realizing slowly that there's no way out. Through the subtle use of giving and taking away control throughout the game, this game sets up emotional connections and narratives through only tools that video games have. This almost half-baked story that you're given at the beginning of the game, which wouldn't really work in a movie, is a new way of making you care about and immersing you in the world of the game that other mediums can't achieve. Video games are great at telling stories of control, because in themselves they imply a giving and a taking away of control in the form of cutscene and gameplay. This game does this wonderfully, and if we could see more games coming out that use these sort of techniques in their game storytelling, then I think we've come one step closer in achieving true game-made narrative that can only be done in this medium. See you guys next episode. Like if you like to like things, comment if you commonly comment on things, subscribe, and if you really want to help us out, share our videos with your friends if you think they'd like them. And follow us on the social medias like Facebook, Twitter, and that third one. As I mentioned in the Sonic episode, I played this game in full 3D. It's amazing. I highly recommend it.